You like mushrooms? We like mushrooms. Let's grow some mushrooms.
So we're going to grow some mushrooms, and we're going to use Back to the Roots Organic Mushroom Mini Grow Kit.
I practiced that like 5 times, just so you know.
And as you can see from this video, it works! So we're going to do it again because we may or may have not jumped the gun.
We're not talking about that.
And so we're going to talk about our experience. We're going to allude to our experience so that you can learn from our folly. So they have so much information on this box. It's just like, wow, this is going to be awesome. And then you see the picture with the giant mushrooms and the hand, and you're like, there's no way this is going to work. It's just a box. How's that going to work? It's going to work. Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually.
So it has directions on the outside.
Ignore them. Don't listen to them.
We're going to ignore those.
Open the box.
Instead, we're going to open the box.
Don't ask me why I know that.
And right on the very top will be the actual directions. And if yours aren't on the top, that just means it's slight on the side. So go ahead and take the contents out of your box to find this piece of paper.
It's kind of important.
So for this, you will need scissors, or in our case,
a box
cutter. You will need a fork, and you will need a bowl large enough for your box, more importantly, the containing elements in your box to be soaked into. So there should be water in your bowl. All right, so to prep, we're going to remove the element of our box, which is this
big block of stuff.
Brick o' stuff. And we are going to cut an X in the front. But
yeah, there's more.
Wait, there's more. The first thing you actually need to do is remove this perforated piece here. Brian, my lovely assistant, is going to do that for us now. Ta-da!
Violence, always the answer.
Then you're going to put this back in your box. Now, it has an extra flap, so I'm going to have the flap portion be the back portion, and the unflapped portion be the front, where it's exposed by this opening.
Less cutting.
And I'm going to use the opening as my template, as it were, for where I'm going to cut an X. So I'm going to start in this corner and cut down to this corner, and start in this corner and cut down to that corner to create an X.
Could you make a W instead of an X?
I probably could make a W, but I'm
only asking because someone's going to.
The reason why we're making an X is so that the mushrooms can go forward, but the plastic will retain as much moisture inside the compartment as possible. Mm-hmm. So if you make too many cuts, then that might hinder the moisture retaining properties.
And you don't want to just cut the plastic off.
No. You're just cutting an X.
Make it an X.
You're not removing
flaps. Don't do a W. Don't do a V. Don't do a B. And by all means, don't do an S. That would just be completely wrong.
And don't have somebody being extra silly next to you while you're wielding a sharp instrument if your name is Derica.
I'll take that.
I have a Band-Aid on my finger for a reason.
That's from a food processor.
All right, so now we have an X, which means it's time for X-Cam. All right, so as you can see by X-Cam, I just cut an X, and so now I have 4 flaps.
Hopefully.
You can see.
Might be time to break the end off the box cutter and get a new blade.
Yeah, they're cut. It's just my fingernails are sad and misshapen. So now that we have our X cut, we're going to lay it down on its uncut side, peel back the flaps.
Don't rip them off.
No.
Very important.
Leave them there. Just peel them
Sorry
back.
for pointing. I don't know why I do that.
And we're just wanting to expose the surface. And you will see that there seems to be a white coating on top of a brown substrate.
It's not mold, Paul.
It's not mold. And Paul, you know he's joking because you were talking about the mushrooms, not the white stuff.
I removed my comment, though.
Brian, Ryan had just come back from a long bike ride. Anyway, so we're going to take our fork now, and we're going to scrape away the white stuff.
Are you forking mushrooms? Is that what you're telling me?
You don't have to be too vigorous. You just want to make sure that you're exposing the brown substrate and scraping away a good amount of the white coating. You don't have to discard it. You can leave the little globules right on your package.
I believe the white coating is there to inhibit growth. So by scraping some of it away, it can start to grow once they get moistened.
So once you scrape it, it will look like this. All right, so now that we've cut our X and we've exposed our substrate, it's time for soaking! And that's why we have this big bowl full of water. We're going to turn it upside down so that the cut side is facing downward, and we're going to go ahead and soak this. Now, some of that stuff that we scraped off with our fork may end up dislodging itself and floating in the water, and that is okay, so don't worry about it.
So how long do you leave it in there?
You're going to leave it 6 to 10 hours or overnight for simplicity.
So at least 6 hours, but you can go overnight. Does it hurt? It doesn't hurt it to go longer?
It does not.
Okay, good to know. Because, you know, with busy schedules and stuff, people might not be able to do 6 hours.
If you leave it in there for multiple days, then I think that might be bad.
That could be bad.
Yeah.
But a day.
So
go a day.
Overnight, you should be fine.
Because if you have time right now, you'll probably have time at the same time tomorrow. So 24 hours is probably going to work for you.
It says 6 to 10 hours. So don't listen to this guy.
She's going to regret having me on the show. I'll apologize in advance.
So, through the magic of television, we're going to wait till tomorrow and be back to continue the directions. Okay, so it's been about 24 hours, which means...
I was right.
After we had finished filming, I was like, oh, wait, it's still kind of early in the day, so this is going to be way past 10 hours.
Yeah, we really don't want to do this at like 11 o'clock at night.
I was like, do I need to take it out and then put it back in? And what do? I don't know. So I went on the internet and I actually visited Back to the Roots website and watched their tutorial video. And they said that you wanted to soak it at least 6 hours overnight is better. So doing it longer than the 6 to 10 hours is fine.
I researched that ahead of time.
So, why do I have a tray and a towel here, you're asking? Well, because the next step is to remove it and dry it off. So...
There's already shrooms. It's already growing.
Do you want to get in there and look?
Let's see inside, shall we?
Now these are going to become more evident if baby mushrooms are beginning to grow because it's going to create a process known as pinning. And the reason why it's called pinning is because they look like little pins.
Huh.
They're these little straight mushrooms with little tiny purpley
Somebody got
grayish
creative with the naming.
Caps, and so they look like little straight pins. And so that's why they call it pinning. At least that is my interpretation as to why they call it pinning. I did not research that, so there you go. Now that my outside of my bag is mostly not wet.
It's still filled with water,
It's filled with water in here, but that's okay. I can replace it into my box, and that's why we dry it off first, because you want to
You don't want to destroy your box.
Maintain the integrity of your box, right?
She says it all fancy. Maintain the integrity. You don't want it to turn to mush.
So again, I want the X part to match the opening, so I'm going to place it back in the way
I'm just here for moral support.
we took it out.
And they shoved the bag in the side here.
Yeah, the little flap
There we
thing
go.
is kind of annoying, but it's
Violence is the answer.
So then you're just going to fold that and fold that and fold that. Ta-da! So now we are going to place our mushroom growing kit like this. And you want to put it in indirect sunlight. So a good sample of this would be in front of a window but facing away from the window.
By the way, notice it's laying on its back.
Yes.
Not on its front, not on its side, and certainly not vertical. It's laying on its back.
So we're going to place our prepared box of mushroom growing kit in our selected area of choice until we see pinning, which is those little tiny mushroom formations. And then we'll be back. Now, as you saw from the time-lapse video, once your mushrooms pin, they're going to double in size nearly every day. And your goal is to reach a flat cap that's roughly 1 to 2 inches in diameter. And then you're ready to harvest your mushrooms. And you're just going to grab your entire collection and slowly pry them from the base. You may have to hold the base down. A little bit of the structure will come off of them, but you will have a nice clump of mushrooms. Now, this is my second growing from this particular container, so I have a smaller batch, but they are beautifully shaped, gorgeous mushrooms, and they taste wonderful. All right, so once you've gone ahead and harvested your first batch from your box, wait, there's more. That's right, you can grow a second crop. So you're just going to open up your box. Make sure you have your bowl filled with water again, because we're basically going to restart the process. Take your bag out. Flip it to the unopened side. Put it back in your box to use as a guide. And then you're going to cut your X again. Take it back out and soak it for overnight again. And start the whole process over again. So just like before, we're going to pull back our flaps that we've cut. If we've got them
Mostly cut.
well, and we're going to take a fork and we're going to scrape this surface so that we can expose the underlayment.
Yeah, a note about scraping. You want to do a pretty good job of scraping.
I was too delicate the first time we attempted this, so you really want to...
Because what that is a protective layer
Scrape in there.
for shipping purposes, so that it doesn't sprout in the box and explode like in the store or on the truck. So you actually want to be somewhat aggressive with it. I mean,
you don't want to stick the fork all the
Yeah.
way in there. You're just scraping the surface. But there's going to be a lot coming off.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. It's going to
especially
float
since
in the
it's
water.
wet this time.
No
like it's
big.
moist because it's already been wet. I believe the mycelium, which is what grows the mushroom, is actually all throughout. So it's not just on the surface. So don't worry about the surface falling in because it's all over the place.
And what I do with my water after I'm done soaking is I dump this into my compost bin so that way none of the substrate gets wasted or goes down my sink. It just gets reused in my
Probably
potting
grows
soil,
more mushrooms.
which I'm okay with. So, and it goes in the water, and we'll start the process all over again tomorrow. Back to the Roots does an awesome job for a beginner kit for your homegrown mushroom growing needs. If you've enjoyed this video,
Look up. There's another one. You might like that one too.
bye-bye.